Welcome to your favourite spook of the week, everyone, and I thought we'd get our blood pumping and our juices flowing for Halloween with a horrifying monster story, and what better story than the Terror of the Mothman. As legend has it, the flying Mothman of Point Pleasant scared countless locals in the late 1960s, and when a bridge collapsed, killing 46 people, the Mothman was blamed entirely. Could it have been a UFO, a supernatural being, or something far more sinister? Grab your snacks, turn off your lights, and let's get spooky. The year is 1966, and on the 12th of November, in the state of West Virginia, a group of 5 gravediggers were working a night in a cemetery preparing a grave for burial when they saw something that was outside the realm of explanation. They glanced up from their work to see a large creature jumping rapidly from tree to tree. The gravediggers would later describe the figure as a brown human being and held to the fact that what lifted off beyond the trees was no bird, it was a humanoid. This was the first reported sighting of what would come to be known as the Mothman, an elusive creature that remains as mysterious as it is today as it was when the first few frightened individuals laid their eyes on it. Just 3 days after the gravediggers' initial report, on one cold night, 2 young couples would encounter the creature in an area in West Virginia known as the TNT area, which was the site of a former World War II munitions plant. Roger and Linda Scarberry were driving their black 57 Chevy Bel Air one midnight with Steve and Mary Millette, when Linda noticed 2 large glowing red eyes in the darkness beside the old plant and began to scream. They stalled in the road for a minute to inspect the glowing eyes, and they soon learned they belonged to something that looked human and stood 7 foot tall. By their descriptions, he stood well over the height of an average man, with great bat-like wings folded behind his back. All 4 of them had similar recollections, but made extra note of the creature's large red eyes. The true horror began when the creature spread its wings and started pursuing them down the highway at speeds exceeding 100 miles an hour. According to them, the creature flew alongside or just above them, his red eyes haunting them most of the way home. When they arrived back to town, they were startled and confused, as there was no sign of the mysterious humanoid that had chased them at the old plant. After discussing the encounter, the group decided it was nothing more than an unusual bird and went back to the TNT area in an attempt to face their fears. It was not long before they encountered the creature again, but as soon as the car's headlights landed on the humanoid, it lifted vertically in the air above the tree line with tremendous speed. This time, they went to the county courthouse on their arrival back to town and alerted the sheriff to what they had seen. Only 2 hours later, the police began to investigate the area, only to return empty-handed. This sighting of the creature by the 2 couples is the major event that started the mystery and terror of the Mothman's reign, as the next day, press conferences were held and the local press began printing their stories. The day after the sighting, in the November 16th issue of the Point Pleasant Register, the strange encounter would be brought to the public eye with the headline, "Couple sees man-sized bird, creature, something." The sightings that night was a distressing experience for all involved, none more so than Linda, who was first to spot the red eyes within the car, as she was rushed to hospital after experiencing a nervous breakdown the morning after the incident. 2 hours earlier, on the same night of the sightings at the TNT area, Newell Partridge, a resident in West Virginia who lived roughly 100 miles away from the TNT area, reported one night that his television started to act like a generator and strange patterns started appearing. He heard a mysterious sound outside his home, and his German Shepherd, Bandit, started to act up and bark loudly. Bandit rushed outside the house and he followed Bandit to his barn, located 500 feet from his house, and he shone a flashlight into the field where the noises were coming from, and witnessed 2 red eyes resembling bike reflectors staring straight back at him. Bandit's hair stood straight up and the dog rushed into the field to chase the eyes, and as the tale goes, Newell Partridge never saw Bandit again. He claimed this sighting took place only a few hours before the Point Pleasant sightings, so before any news of this creature was made public. This anecdote remains a popular one in the Mothman mythos, especially since it allegedly led to the disappearance of Partridge's dog. To this day, some still believe that the fearsome beast took his beloved pet. The press were initially skeptical, as any person would be. A giant humanoid with wings and blood red eyes that's over 7 foot, I mean, who would believe it? People get scared of tiny moths in their room. Imagine this giant 7 foot humanoid creature gets reported that it's actually true. It would cause mass hysteria. So they thought people had just been on a few too many drinks. Wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith told reporters that descriptions and sightings all fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as high as a man with a 7 foot wingspan featuring circles of reddish colouring around the eyes. The bird may have wandered out of its migration route and therefore was unrecognised at first because it was not native to this region. The couples, however, reiterated that this was no crane and something else entirely, and described him as having the arms and legs of a man with bat-like wings and red eyes that were so large they distracted them from seeing anything else of its head. However skeptical people were, the legend of the Mothman continued to grow, as 8 more sightings appeared over the next 3 days, including 2 volunteer firefighters who reportedly saw it, said it was a very large bird with large red eyes. The strange creature would continue to haunt the town of Point Pleasant, as over the next 13 months, over 100 sightings were recorded in this time. Many of these, though, were unidentifiable. There are rumours that the Mothman witnesses were threatened by the Men in Black in order to keep quiet on the incidents. No, Will Smith didn't go to their house and threaten them with a good time. It was the alleged real-life Men in Black who threatened UFO and paranormal witnesses into silence. Which begs the question, is the Mothman of worldly descent, or is it something outside of our explanation? The case of the Mothman becomes far more strange when it seems that all sightings ultimately culminated in the collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15, 1967. On that day, just over a year after the first Mothman sighting, traffic on the bridge was bad and it was packed with cars. The bridge was built in 1928 and wasn't built to withstand the heavier cars of 1967. The engineering of the bridge meant that if one part failed, the rest would collapse as well, which is exactly what happened on that fateful day. 46 people died that day, and people started linking the appearance of the Mothman to the disaster. People believe the Mothman tried to warn people about impending doom, as there are reports of witnesses of the bridge incident seeing the Mothman that very same day. And there is also reports of sightings before cases such as Chernobyl and a mining disaster in Freiburg. After the bridge collapse, the Mothman wasn't seen again, as Point Pleasant was now a sombre icon of tragedy. The tales of the Mothman began to fade into urban legend until 1975, when author John Keel released his book, The Mothman Prophecies, which incorporated UFO activity, and his story took hold, and the town soon became iconic among conspiracy theorists, ufologists, and fans of the paranormal. So we have this creature that has been terrorising the town of Point Pleasant for about a year, but after this major disaster, it completely disappears. So what explanation do we have for the Mothman? As previously mentioned, the sightings at the TNT area were said to be a sandhill crane, but this was completely dismissed by the witnesses, perhaps in order for their story to seem more plausible and not to be seen as crazy. People also hypothesised that the crane was deformed due to residing in the TNT area, as it had been suggested that the area leaked toxic chemicals into the surrounding wildlife. Owls have also been suggested as an explanation because of their eye shine and their silhouette resembling a headless Mothman. Hoaxers have also been accused for the sightings as well, following the big publicity of this, and when the press started running the Mothman story, everyone saw the Mothman in everyday birds and other animals, leading to false reports. And then there are the exciting paranormal explanations, a mass of complicated theories that include aliens, UFOs, and precognitions. These theories paint the Mothman as either a harbinger of doom, or more sinisterly, its cause, a legend that has its roots in the tragedy that befell Point Pleasant shortly after the Mothman arrived. Whether the sightings of our hero Mothie are real or not, the legend continues in Point Pleasant to this day, where they celebrate annual Mothman festivals and have a 12-foot statue of the creature with a historical museum to boot. The legend of the Mothman continues to be mysterious to this day. Was it a harbinger of doom and warning people of the impending disasters to come? Or was it just a massive fucking owl? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I've been Jamie's Day, your favourite spook of the week, and this was the Terror of the Mothman. I'll see you all next time. Peace.